The second case study that we're going to look at is going to look at another claiming strategy, but we're going to change the fact situation a little bit and look at single filer at this point. So we're going to look at Bob, who is age 66, and this is also a strategy that's going to be going away this year as well. So Bob at age 66 is a professor who is single, and he's currently working with no plans to retire. And as a single individual, he also feels good about his financial situation. For the most part, he's done a good job saving in the university retirement plans. He also has group life insurance. He owns his home as well without a mortgage. But he's a little light on his cash right now. He only has about $5,000 in the bank in his checking and savings account. So Bob's main goals are he would like to maximize the dollar amount benefit that he could receive potentially over his lifetime. And the second goal that he has is that he would like to increase his liquid safety net. So he's a little bit concerned about only having $5,000 if he becomes ill or if he needs to make some repairs to his home. He's a little concerned with the amount of assets he has available to him right now. So what is a strategy that Bob might want to consider implementing, Scott?
Well, James, I think this is an interesting strategy and perhaps even a powerful one for our listeners today. Taking a look at those examples there, he could certainly claim at the age of 66. The example would be a $2,500 benefit. He could get the cost of living adjustments there, and that's kind of his benefit for life. We can see over his life expectancy, that's about $616,000 worth of benefit. He had the goal of maximizing his benefits from Social Security, so one way to do that is to delay until the age of 70. And we can see that that's the $37.87 per month. Over that same time frame, his lifetime, $727,000. So clearly a difference of $100,000 or so. Now the strategy that he could implement, and again we're using this as an example on a single individual. I think this could work for a couple as well, though. What he can do is use the file and suspend strategy. Now, normally when let's say he were to file for his benefit at the age of 67. He would have a choice then to take the benefit as of his age 67, or he could even go back 6 months, and Social Security would pay him a lump sum for those past 6 months, and then pay that benefit going forward. If he were to file and suspend on his 66th birthday, he could have additional flexibility and choices there. So let's say he did that. He filed and suspended today at his age 66. And then he gets to the age of 69, and something happens where he does need that additional cash. He's only got the $5,000 in checking and savings. Maybe something happened to his home. Maybe he has some health concerns, and he needs $50,000, $60,000 or something like that. At the age of 69, he could make the election to basically turn on his Social Security, and he'd have the option for Social Security to pay him for his benefits that began at 66 when he originally filed and suspended. And we can see, that's $25.69 per month over 3 years is that $92,000 benefit that we have there. Social Security would pay that as a lump sum benefit that would be an option for him. So I think this is potentially a good solution to some of the goals that he mentioned there.
And Scott, just to make sure I'm clear on this, if he didn't need to tap into that, he could just let it grow to age 70. At that point, it would be a higher monthly benefit for the rest of his life?
Correct. That's exactly right.
So really, as you mentioned, this is a good strategy for a single person and who is concerned about having enough liquid assets should an emergency come up. So just to kind of summarize what you talked about, Scott, option one would be to claim now. He'd have the lower monthly benefit that he would get, and it would decrease the total lifetime benefit. Option two would be to file and suspend, and if he needed to, he could tap into up to $92,000 of assets that he could get at should an emergency come up. If he didn't need to, though, he could let it defer all the way out to his full maximum retirement age 70. It would be a much higher benefit, and he would max out his total lifetime expected benefits that would be paid. And just as a reminder to everyone listening, both in the first case study and in this case study, the options of filing and suspending and filing a restricted application are going away after April 29th. So if you think that you're someone who would benefit from one of these two scenarios that we just talked to, make sure that you evaluate your situation and develop a plan in the near future, because that deadline is coming up, and we'll have some opportunities for you to do that if you need help at the end of the webinar today. So let's move on to our final case study, and this is case study 3. We're going to look back at Bill and Mary, but we're going to change their fact situation. So what we're going to try to capture in this case study, Scott, is for our listeners who are not age 62 or age 66. So they're not going to be able to take advantage of the strategies that we just talked about in the last two case studies. We really want to look at what's going to be left on the table for our younger listeners going on after those options go away. So we're going to make Bill and Mary a little bit younger. They're both age 60 for this case study, and both of them are still working at this point with no plans to retire. So similar asset profile, just a little bit younger. They've got some good money inside the university retirement plans. They have the life insurance policies. They own their home. But they also are a little bit concerned about their liquidity. They only have about $5,000 in the bank is one of their concerns if an issue were to come up. So their goals are to increase their retirement savings without necessarily increasing their taxable income. They're looking at over the next 5 to 6 years as a possible retirement date and seeing if there's a way they can really increase the amount of money that they have in the university retirement plans. A secondary goal that they have is to maybe increase the cash reserves that they have so that they have enough liquid assets in retirement or money that they could get to without paying income taxes if they needed it in an emergency. And the third goal that they have really has to do with their estate planning. They like the idea of having a defined amount that they could leave to their children, and for them, they've talked about it, and they decided that they'd really like to have guaranteed $500,000 that they could leave to their children. So what I'd ask you to do is maybe talk to us about what their potential strategies are that they could use for claiming at different ages, and then we can look at maybe some creative ways that they could accomplish some of their goals that they have.
Well, sure, James, and like anyone, they could certainly go ahead and file for their Social Security benefits as early as the age of 62. You mentioned that they have no plans to retire, so I would assume 2 years later they also have no plans to retire. So this probably wouldn't be the best option for them. Recall that this is before their full retirement age, so they're going to receive a reduced monthly benefit already based on that, and it's a permanently reduced benefit. They're also going to be subject to that income earnings test that we mentioned. So just given the average salary of university professionals, they're probably going to have that benefit completely eliminated from that income earnings test. So the age of 62, while it is possible, probably is not the best option for them. They can also both claim their full benefit at 66. Again, the combined monthly benefit then is the $51.38 that we list there. That could be a possibility for them. They're at their full retirement age. They will not be subject to that income earnings test. This would give them additional cash flow that they could do several things with. Perhaps they could look to meet some of their goals. We'll take a look at a moment at what they could do there. But this is certainly an option for them as well. Our third example here perhaps is something that could help them meet even all three of their goals. So the idea here would be for one of them to apply at, or I'm sorry, this is if they just wanted to wait and delay to maximize their benefit until the age of 70. They could completely both wait until that full age, let that benefit increase from the age of 66 all the way up until 70. That would increase their monthly benefit to nearly $7,000 per month. And looking at the additional lifetime benefits that they would receive from waiting that 4 years, it's about $86,000. So not as drastic as the examples we looked at when the file and suspend strategy was there, but still quite a large difference.
So as you mentioned, Scott, they could both claim at age 62, they could both claim at age 66, and both at age 70, and there'd be different dollar amounts and potential consequences for doing that. Is there an option where maybe one of them could claim at a certain age that would help them accomplish some of the goals that we talked about at the beginning of their case study?
Yeah, absolutely, and I think this could be a very good option. You know, what you try to do here is, again, you know, talking about maximizing the survivor benefits. So you would probably, you know, at full retirement age at 66, perhaps claim the lower of the two benefits. In our example here, it's going to be Bill applies for his benefit of the $25.69 per month. So they have an additional $2,500 per month to work with. So, you know, one of their goals was to increase retirement savings without increasing their taxable income. So they now have, again, that $2,500 per month. What they could do is simultaneously increase their contributions to either a 457 plan, if they have it available, or to the 403B plan through the university, really offsetting that income from the new Social Security benefit. Over 4 years, that could provide an additional $123,000 tax deferred to their retirement savings plans. A couple of other things they could do there. They could just accumulate that as cash. You know, their secondary goal was to increase some cash reserves as they head into retirement. And a third option, they talked about a guaranteed amount that they want to leave to their children. Perhaps they use this $2,500 per month to replace group life insurance that will ultimately go away at retirement. This would be a nice tax-free benefit for their children as well. They could also look at that deferred annuity that we talked about as well that will reduce the chances of outliving their retirement savings. So they could even look at doing a combination of all three of these things to really begin to meet those goals.
Thanks, Scott. So even though some of the more creative and advantageous claiming strategies are going to be going away, as we saw here, knowing what their options are at different ages still can be very beneficial from an overall planning point of view. So as you mentioned, if one of them claimed at age 66 where there would no longer be a penalty for working, there's really three big ideas that they could do. One is they could receive that benefit and at the same time increase their voluntary contributions into the retirement plans if they were able to do that. And that would really have a net zero effect on their taxable income, but it would allow them to save over $100,000 more in the university retirement plan. So that's a really powerful idea. The second idea would be to use that monthly benefit to just save some cash or have more tax-efficient resources they could invest in after-tax accounts or have more money in the bank during retirement to give themselves more flexibility. And then as you mentioned, that idea of insurance is pretty powerful as well. They could purchase long-term care insurance, a guaranteed life insurance plan that could pass on to their children totally tax-free, or maybe some longevity insurance that would protect them from running out of assets later on. So really some creative ideas to use one of their benefits early on. So thank you, Scott, for talking to us about all three of these different scenarios today.